Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Cam coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com. Hope you guys are doing amazing out there. This fine Monday evening. I'm getting my walk in. It's a little late. It's nice outside for February. Are you kidding me? February in Ohio? It's got to be in the 60s out here today. Sun's shining. Couldn't ask for better. It's amazing. I want to talk to you guys today about hidden formulas. The thing about hidden formulas is this: you'll hear people say often, pretty regularly, you'll hear people say, don't always follow what people say, follow what they do. Right? And it's actually pretty good advice, except for the fact that there's an insinuation there that people are trying to deceive you. Like they're telling you different things than what they're doing. So I think a lot of times when people hear that advice, don't follow what people say, follow what they do, they focus on this kind of deception aspect of it. And it kind of acts like a curveball. Kind of takes your eye off the ball a little bit. The point of that advice that you should focus on is, pay attention to what people do. Like, because people don't always say things that are meant to mislead you or whatever. They're trying to give you good advice. But there's other things to be learned from what they're doing that might not have anything to do with what they're talking about. I'll give you an example. I was reading an article today on Medium. If you don't hang out on Medium, I think you should, right? It's a nice gated community. You gotta pay $5 a month to read more than 3 articles over there. It means there's a lot of buyers hanging out over there. So anyways, it's enough to talk about Medium, but so I was over there, I was reading this article, and the article was, okay, so the article was basically about why to not publish consistently. That's what the article was about. Why to not publish consistently. And of course I had to read that, because very simply that sounded contrarian, right? Wow, that's interesting. That's not really what I teach people to do. That's not what has worked for me over the years. So what's this about? I want to know. So although the title was contrarian, the article was based on a pretty simple piece of advice. And that simple piece of advice was very true. And that simple piece of advice was, if you don't have a formula down that's working, it's not going to do you any good to publish consistently, right? You need to make sure you got a formula down that works. Like, if you're publishing articles, this was talking about articles, but it really applies to any kind of thing you're putting out there. If you're publishing articles and nobody's reading them, and they're not getting any attention, then it doesn't do you any good to publish consistently over and over and over again. You need to find a formula that actually gets a little bit of attention first, and then once you've got that, then publish consistently, right? That was the basic advice of the article. And to give you an analogy of that, it would basically be like, hey, if your car is making weird noises, don't go on a road trip. That's that basic analogy, right? If your car is making weird noises, don't go on a road trip. It sounds really obvious, but to a lot of people trying to make things happen on the internet, they're a little outside their comfort zone and nothing is obvious. So that was the basic idea behind the article. And it was a cool article. It had a basic piece of advice. It was true. Gives you something to think about. But it was like a lot of people had read it, including me. Now, what's the hidden formula in this article? This is where we take something that works on us and we try to figure out why it worked on us. Why is this good? Why did this attract so many people? And in that article's case, you can break it down to a few simple steps, right? Step 1, have a solid piece of information that is absolutely true. Step 2, come up with a contrarian title, right? Because you can have a solid piece of information that's very true. Let's think about this for a second. This guy said, hey, don't publish consistently until you have a formula that actually works. If what you're doing doesn't work, aka if your car is making weird noises, then don't publish consistently, aka don't go on a road trip. So anyways, it's a simple piece of advice. So you think, okay, how can I take this simple piece of advice and come up with a contrarian title? Like his contrarian title was, hey, here's why you shouldn't do what everyone else is telling you to do, right? You could do that with anything, right? For example, most people say you should build an email list, right? People say, man, that's the first priority. You should be building an email list. You could ask yourself, well, when would I not be building an email list? Like, what reason would I not be trying to build an email list? And I could say, okay, well, I shouldn't be trying to build an email list unless I have the right autoresponder, right? So now, I know my email, I know my article or my piece of content is going to be about, not building email lists, right? And the reason why I wouldn't build an email list is if I have the wrong autoresponder. That's a simple piece of advice. Kind of hard to argue with that advice. But my title is going to be contrarian. It's going to be like, why you wouldn't worry about, when would you not worry about building an email list? When do you not need to worry about building an email? Something along that lines. So now we got like a basic piece of advice that most people can really agree with. We got a contrarian title. What else? Well, another thing this guy did was first picture, because if you know anything about Medium, all those Medium articles, they put like a little picture at the top usually. Well, his first picture at the top, he used like a picture that he drew himself. Because this guy, he's probably like an artist or whatever. He draws pretty good. But the point is that picture was proprietary. He put a picture up there that people couldn't easily replicate. They couldn't just go over to Unsplash and, get a picture. It's different, right? So it added to the uniqueness of the thing. Right? So what do we got so far? We got solid piece of advice. We got contrarian title. We've got unique picture, stacks the value. The other thing he did was he didn't just come out and say, hey, here's what you should do, right? He didn't just come out and say, all right, normally you would publish consistently unless you have this problem, then don't do it. Right? He didn't do that. That's too straightforward. What he did was he gave humorous analogies. He told a few stories, gave some examples. He didn't give any examples, actually. I actually commented in this comment section. He should add some examples, I beat the article up a little bit with some real life examples. But the point is, like, he filled it out a little bit with some humorous writing and analogies and stuff like that. So that's like step 4, right? And then, in my opinion, step 5 would be to add at least one example to kind of like proof of concept your point, right? You don't have to do it. I mean, his article is very successful. He didn't have any examples. But the point is, he wasn't talking about what I was talking about just now. He was talking about this one thing, when you should not publish consistently. But in doing so, like, he basically gave you a formula. If you just look at what he was doing, he gave you a formula for a style of content that you can write, which would, I mean, again, that would work for any kind of content, not just writing content. But that's a hidden formula, That's you looking at what someone else does and not what they say. But again, people look at that advice and it's got a negative connotation. When you say, don't look at what they say, look at what they do, it kind of gives this connotation that there's like some kind of snake oil salesman or something. You need to look behind the curtain. That causes a lot of people to take that particular piece of advice, and what they take away from that advice is just like, avoid the wrong people, avoid the wrong marketers. But what they should be doing is considering the part of that advice that's actually really helpful, and sure, listen to what they say, but also think about what they're doing, because there's a lot of hidden formulas out there in what people are doing. Anyways, just something I observed today while I was hanging out on Medium. Hope that's helpful to you. If so, I'd love for you to help me grow this free podcast. If you could share it with someone you think it might help, you'd be doing me a big favor. That'd be awesome. If you're interested in this content that I have here, if this resonates with you at all, you should definitely sign up for my free newsletter. I like to think I put out my best free content in my email newsletter. Some say I have a face that only a mother could love. I think I write better than I talk, probably. Anyways, whatever. That's all I got. Hope you guys are doing amazing. I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Peace now.